meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. The time is 6:01. The date is April 23rd, 2024. Adrian, can you call? Oh. Actually, we're going to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. I believe we have the Boy Scouts Troop 4 from El Paso and can join us to help us with that. If you all want to come up front.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, guys. I'm not honored. I will do my best to do my duty, God of my country, to obey the Scout law, to do at all times, to keep myself physically strong and to away from harm and straight. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and regular.
Can we get a picture with you all?
What is your troop number? 4. Troop number 4.
Yes, sir.
I think we're better off with they're definitely taller.
Sure. It's probably better over than that. Y'all want to come in first row? It's all about y'all. Good job.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys.
Item 1B, roll call. Ms. Barnes.
Present.
Ms. Borrego.
Present.
Ms. Mendoza.
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Mr. Cimental. Here. Mrs. Stroud.
Present.
Ms. Zuniga.
Here.
Ms. Estella. And Mr. Ayala.
That will take us to the next item.
Item 1E, the CISD Vision and Mission Statements.
And I'll, if Ms. Mendoza, you could do the vision and Ms. Borrego the mission statement.
Mission. We provide equitable opportunities to ensure our future-ready students are empowered to explore, learn, grow, and excel.
The Cantillo vision statement is lead today and impact tomorrow.
Thank you all. And that will take us to the next agenda item, which is board honors.
Board President Rodriguez, members of the board, and Master Galaviz, could you please join us in these reserved seats up here to begin tonight's performance? Tonight, we have performances from our talented students who recently represented CISD at different regional music competitions and excelled. We will hear from two of our choirs before we present them with certificates and recognize them. Up first, from Canantillo Middle School Choir, we will hear from the Canantillo Middle School Choir under the direction of Mr. David Moreno. The choir will be performing Rejoice, Alleluia by Emily Crawford. Mr. Moreno, please lead your choir into the order.
Oh
ask you to hold off to the side right now. We're gonna hear next from Canofillo High School Choir as well. Up next, we will hear the Canofillo High School Varsity Choir under the direction of Miss Alejandra Martinez, and they will perform O Magnum Mysterium by Evan Ramos. Ms. Martinez, please come up with your choir. programs that are here. Board President Rodriguez, members of the board, and Dr. Galaviz, could you please join us in front of the dais to begin the recognition? Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to recognize the work and dedication of the students and staff of the Cantillo Independent School District, El Paso's only AAA-rated school district and the best mall school district in Texas. Tonight, we highlight the musical talents of students throughout CISD. Specifically, we are honoring the choir students who recently showed off their vocal pipes at several regional music competitions and came home with accolades. We'll start with Cantillo Middle School under the direction of Mr. David Moreno. The choir continued their great trajectory by receiving their second superior rating in a row at the University Interscholastic League Music Competition, in a clear sign of the future of music performance in CISD. The choir is now getting ready to compete at Disneyland later this spring. Please help us welcome CMS Marching Choir. All right, let's line up here. All right, it'll be a tight fit, but we'll get it all in. There's another row.
Fill in any empty spaces.
Ready, everyone? Look over here. All right, 1, 2, 3. Don't show your face. I didn't see you on it. Oh, that's it. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
All right, choir, do we have any of your parents up here? Let's recognize them.
Parents, come on in.
Thank you, parents. All right, any parent that wants to come out for the photo?
My kids.
Yeah, tipping toes in the back. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Thank you, CMS, and good luck in this match.
All the board members are free to chaperone it. All of them.
Confident Middle School is also one of the top middle school choirs in the region. The students, under the direction of Suazi Nunez, earned the Excellence Award in Stage Concert at the recent University Interscholastic Music Competition. Based on their performance, we know this is a very well-deserved honor. Please help us welcome the AMS Choir. For a quick note, the choir director for AMS had an emergency. She couldn't come tonight, and that's why we couldn't perform, but they were scheduled to perform as well. But we would like to invite the principal to come up as well and take a photo with us. Now, of course, parents do great work to get this done. So if there are any parents that want to come up as well, be recognized from AMS Choir. Thank you, AMS. And last but certainly not least, we honor the Canutillo High School Choir, which recently also received the Excellence Award during their UIL concert evaluation. The choir competed under the direction of Alejandra Martinez and continues to make waves in the region. Several members of this choir will compete at state later this spring. So let's wish them luck. Please help us welcome the CHS Varsity Choir.
Let's hold it back, guys.
Do we have any parents that want to come out, please, and be recognized along with their students?
I see you, come
As you can see, the future of fine arts education is in great hands here at CISD. We look forward to building on the success of these students to bring our community even more opportunities in music. Let's give all these student performers a hand, please. Members of the board and Dr. Galaviz conclude the evening's presentation. Thank you all. That'd be great.
It's always great to see student performances and recognize their accomplishments. That will take us. Can you all hear me? Like I said, it's always great to recognize our students and their accomplishments. So with that will take us to the next item.
Item number 3, open forum. Any person wishing to address the board during the period reserved for public comment at a board meeting must sign up to be heard in accordance with district policy BED local. Each participant will be limited to 3 minutes to make comments to the board. The board is not permitted to discuss or act upon any issues that are not posted on tonight's agenda, on tonight's meeting. For further information on these policies, contact the superintendent's administrative assistant. The first participant is Mr. Ryan Romero in regards to his experience with CTE and issues with the bond.
Okay, so I have 3 minutes, so I'm gonna hurry up. But, so, I'm Ryan, if you guys remember me. I was in a CTE program for 3 years, my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. I was in the audio-visual program, and it was great. There's really not anything bad about it. Everything I know about graphic design, about editing videos, about editing pictures came from that class. And now I'm a photographer, and nearly everything that can be applied to graphic design can be applied to photography. So it was extremely helpful to me, and I know it's extremely helpful for a lot of other people. And it's a shame that it was stripped away this year. And right now, I'm not taking any of those courses because they don't exist anymore. So I want to highlight the importance of graphic design in today's world. Seal right behind Dr. Galaviz right there, that's graphic design. The American flag, the Texan flag, that's graphic design. All your name tags are all graphic design. I mean, even our social media, the CISD social media, that's graphic design, and it's really good graphic design. Props to that. Seriously, it's really good. Compared to other districts, Isleta, Socorro, El Paso, sorry, it's not that good. We're the best there. So, one of the things that makes me very upset about CTE, and specifically my program, is Tracy Andrews. And my opinion, that Tracy Andrews is unfit for her position. I've spoken to her twice, one-on-one, one last year during our junior college fair. She asked me about audiovisual production, and I mean, I told her everything that I just told you, that it's great, that it's amazing. And Ms. Andrews told me that if that program had panned out the way that they wanted it to, there would be an entire sophomore year class dedicated to syncing audio and video. Now look at that perspective. It's like going to driver's ed, and they just teach you how to start the car. That's the first thing you learn. It's the most basic thing. It's the easiest thing there is to do when it comes to video editing. The second time I talked to Ms. Andrews was the first day of school this year. Remember it? We had an assignment in law enforcement too. And the assignment was to create a law enforcement badge. And so I created the badge. It was great. I used my graphic design expertise, I guess you'd say, on that. Ms. Andrews came up to me and she said that it was really good. So I'm smart. I told her, thanks, I learned typography and placement in graphic design. And Ms. Andrews looked me in the eye and she told me, mind you, this is a grown woman, she told me, yeah, it's really sad we had to say to that class bye-bye. Just like that, just that dismissive, something that's so integral to today's society. I mean, graphic design, just that, graphic design. It's everywhere, and she was just so dismissive of it. And I think that, okay, never mind. That's all I have to say, thank you.
Is our student advisor Gustavo Ayala in regards to teacher displacement and cutting off programs.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Superintendent, and members of the board. I'm Gustavo Ayala, many of you guys know. I'm not only speaking on behalf of myself, but as the student representative for all students in Ganapio High School. We have now four teachers misplaced. We have Ms. Castillo, our SCCLA teacher, which have been in the district for 15 years. All 15 have been the SCCLA teacher. 14 of those years she has won state, well not one state, but had advanced to state. She had won back-to-back nationals for SCCLA. And in order to go to nationals, you have to be either number one or number two in the state, and which she has. Another program that was unfortunately stripped of a teacher was our excellent choir that you just heard perform. We have Miss Martinez being moved down to the elementary, which is crazy as she was just moved up from AMS. I remember her time there, she was great there, she's great here. And just like that, her position was stripped away. Another position was our band director, Dr. Ramos, an amazing teacher, won sweepstakes multiple times, multiple good things about him, and we just gave up his position just like that. Ms. Castillo, once again, amazing teacher, multiple bonds built with those teachers, and just like that, they're stripped away. Programs, I hear they're calling the SCCLA program as a whole with that with the displacement of Ms. Castillo, and I hear you're trying to get one teacher for both the band and choir, which will ultimately lead to the cutting of the choir program. I feel it's just not right, and I just feel it needs to be spoken about. Thank you.
Next participant, Mr. Bernardo Varela, in regards to vets.
Excuse me, in regards to what? I couldn't understand.
Vets.
Veterans.
Veterans.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Hello, everyone, thank you for listening. A few community members are saying Ms. Barnes doesn't pay taxes and her children do not attend CISD. Ms. Barnes' husband is a 100% disabled veteran. Dr. Galvez, Dr. Kern, and veterans know what 100% disability means. Mr. Barnes served this country 110%. My kids do not attend CISD because I don't trust the administration. Administration let a gang grow in the high school. Dr. Galvez called the gang a party crew. Texas law corrected Galvez. It wasn't a party crew. Last school board elections, Mr. Simenthal came in last place in votes. 10 people ran for CISD trustee. Mr. Simenthal came in last place. 5 school board members voted to place unqualified Bobby Simenthal on the school board. Now 5 school board members want me to trust them with tax dollars every time there's a board meeting. Excuse me, with my tax dollars. Every time there's a board meeting, the administration finds more money in the couch cushions. CISD accounting is elementary at best. My recommendations on finding another attorney to represent CISD still stands also. Thank you.
Next participant is Ms. Nidia Maldonado in regards to the budget.
Good evening, Dr. Galaviz, President Rodriguez, board members, and audience. I am a strong supporter of the bond. I've seen firsthand the needs of the district. I've read the responses to the online community budget survey, and most of those responses were not in favor of reducing or eliminating positions such as teachers, librarians, aides, nurses, or security guards, but rather in favor of reductions at central office. A teacher wears a hat of many colors. They teach, they attend meetings, they are parents often, and they do this without hesitation. Central office should do the same thing. One person, multiple tasks. Reduction in force should first take place at central office. And how does HR determine the reduction in teachers or aides? They base their decision on snapshot counts in October. And then every year they tell principals, you have an excess number of teachers at a certain grade level. So the last one in, the last teacher into that grade level, even if they have 20 years under their belt, is the first one to leave versus the first time teacher on the campus. And the following semester, the principal has to hire a teacher to replace the one that left due to enrollment. Why? Because most parents don't enroll kids, don't register until the summer. RIF is difficult, period, but they need to happen first at central office, not with individuals that have direct contact with students. And many of our teachers are nationally board certified. It's a shame if we have to lose into other districts. Second, although I am in favor of the bond, I am not in favor of allocating $100,000 for students to take a trip to present at CASP, at least not during this financial crisis. You are hoping that other districts buy in and share the cost. What if they don't? Just like the state didn't. It's like me not paying my mortgage payment, but I'm going to take an expensive vacation trip. This is what the community means when they talk about lack of transparency. If you approve this item, you are adding to the deficit, you are digging a bigger hole, and you are proving the naysayers correct. This trip is a want, not a need, and we have a plate full of needs in this district right now that will impact a bigger population of students, teachers, staff, and the community. So I urge you to please seriously think about these decisions that you're about to make and the impact that it will have on our district and our community. Thank you.
Next participant is Ms. Jasmine Reyes in regards to the CHS choir structure.
Excuse me, Valles, in regards to what?
CHS
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this chance to speak. A tiny bit of background on myself. My name is Yasmin Valles, and I have one child currently at Gamma High School. Moving forward, teachers play a very important role in shaping the future of our students. There are only a few people in our lives who impact our world, and teachers are definitely one of them. Mrs. Martinez has been a big help with my son since Alderete Middle School. She attended the 5 and 4 meetings. She's advocated for his success. She even advocated that my son be enrolled in chamber choir this freshman year. Anyways, upon hearing the district was cutting the choir program due to low enrollment, was deeply disappointing. It saddens us all that she will no longer be with our children. As a member of the Ganadillo High School Choir Parents and PTEC, we are seeking the Why was a highly qualified teacher removed from the program after a successful year? Thank you.
Next participant is Ms. Kendra Smith in regards to choir.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Kendra Smith and I have 5 children in the district. This is our 5th year in the Kainantua district, and our time at Reyes has been wonderful. It's a great school and the administration has been wonderful. Even now that day has been as good as any middle school could be, because middle school is not easy. Our high school experience started off rough with the pandemic, but was still fine until last year when the administration changed. That's when we really started to feel a change in the atmosphere at the high school. Besides all the fights at the high school in the past year, the biggest blow recently has been the news about the choir program. Ms. Martinez has been my child's choir director all of middle school, and we were thrilled when she got moved to the high school. We love her. See, my kid hides it well, but she struggles with anxiety, and she has for a long time. Ms. Martinez is her person. Ms. Martinez is the reason that my kid went to school in 8th grade. And the reason that this year has gone relatively smoothly for her. When we were told that the choir program was going to be cut and Ms. Martinez would be moved to another campus, our hearts were broken. Now I'm to understand that the choir program will continue next year, but Ms. Martinez will not continue with it. Why would the administration tell Ms. Martinez that they are cutting the choir program? Why would the choir program continue, but the director be moved? I highly doubt that she misunderstood or misspoke when she told the students. She loves her students too much to mislead them. So the only conclusion I can come to is that the administration made the decision without realizing how quickly and vocally these students and parents would push back on this decision. Situations like these arise all too often with no explanation to parents and guardians. It's situations like these that lead to the distrust between admin and parents. It's situations like these that lead Kainantua students to other districts. Even now, our family is considering transferring to EPISD. If you want families to keep their students enrolled in Kainantua ISD, then something needs to change in the way parents and students are treated and communicated to. And that all starts here with the board. Thank you.
Next participant is Ms. Julie Scott in regards to nurses and librarians.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, and Dr. Galavis. My name is Julie Scott. I am pro bono and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the librarians and the nurses of our district. I know that on behalf of our district, you'll have to start making hard decisions. I would like to share some of my personal insights and perspectives for you to keep in mind as you move forward in making those crucial decisions. I am a nurse, a wife, and a mom, and I'm blessed enough to be able to stay home and have the ability to volunteer in our schools in our district. I'm a proud parent of a JDE Firebird and a CMS Eagle. I have a passion for volunteering at our schools and at the district level with the SHAC, the Facility Assessment Committee, PTOs, and much more. I especially enjoy spending time volunteering with the nurses and in the libraries. Both are places where our kids feel safe and also places for healing. One of the district's suggestions for saving money is to cut registered nurses and replace them with LVN nurses. Both levels of nursing are admirable. However, LVNs are limited in their capacity to serve our school and students with their scope of practice. LVNs are able to administer medications, perform certain procedures, mandated screenings, as well as implement the registered nurses care plan, but they cannot work independently. They only can provide care to students with predictable and well-defined healthcare needs. Some of the students in our district have complex healthcare needs that can only be addressed by a registered nurse. RNs practice independently and are able to do more, attend 504 ARDs, create personalized care plans for each student. Just like Dr. Reyes shared the analogy last week, RNs are like teachers and LVNs are like teachers' aides. Both are admirable and able, but why cut out our nurses that already know our students, know their jobs, and are doing their jobs well for someone new that won't be able to accomplish the same goals unless you keep some of the RNs to oversee? Where is the cost savings in that? Why put our students at risk when we're talking about their health and well-being? Our students deserve the best care possible while they're away from their parents at school. Another suggestion made in order to save money is to cut our certified librarians and to have librarian aides run the library. Library aides are amazing and are capable. However, our head librarians bring a wealth of knowledge and wisdom from their years of experience in education and library science field. Librarians and library aides are a team, and they assist our students in so many different ways. They open worlds of possibility and imagination in books and the resources they offer. They are an integral part of helping the schools run smoothly by helping with literacy activities, library services, and technology. Librarians also help troubleshoot laptops and the internet, manage student IDs, sponsor book fairs and book clubs, co-teach with teachers, manage teacher tech assets, and so much more. And might I add, they have a good attitude while getting interrupted 15 times a day by teenagers within an hour for IDs, last-minute technology changes, and reading questions all at the same time. This district would be doing our students an injustice by only providing one certified librarian per elementary, middle, and high school level. I admire and respect our librarians and nurses' dedication and service to our students. Librarians and nurses work with fidelity for the students and teachers at their campuses on a daily basis. Thank you.
Next participant is Isabella Medina Gold in regards to documentary for the bond.
Good evening, Dr. G, Mr. Rodriguez, and Ms. Patsy, and the rest of the board. My name is Isabella Medina Gold, and I'm a sophomore attending Northwestern College High School. Some of you on the board may know me and recognize me from my dad, Adrian Medina. And if you knew him, he was very passionate about his community. He never stopped until the problem was fixed, and he had this continued passion until the unfortunate end of his life. In many ways, I'm like my dad, and I want to help the Donaldview district in its time of need. So it is with great pleasure that I take this opportunity to tell the board about the recent project I've been working on with Ethan Young, a student at Nudges, for almost 2 months now. Let me start at the beginning when a teacher at my school, Mr. Leff, had yet another problem with his portable, where the floor was caving in and a quarter of his portable had to be closed off, which limited instruction. I saw how distressed he was, and I knew I had to do something about it. I reached out to the only person that I had in mind, Ethan. Ethan, who has the knowledge of recording podcasts and who owns a photography company. I told him how I wanted to create a documentary to show the community how desperate Nudges is for this bond, as well as other Donaldview schools. The recording process was laborious, as we went from school to school, setting up cameras and mics, interviewing, and packing it all up within the hour. Our hope for the effectiveness of this video often wavered, but I knew it was worth it if the community saw the actual conditions of school, and not just the paperwork and added taxes, because I assure the voters that it is beyond that. This bond is not just for our schools and our teachers, but it is also for our students. Our students that will pave the way for our future generations and who will be in school for the next 12 years. We don't really want our students to be in poor environments where teachers constantly have to worry about the roofs caving in on our students' heads. Our children's future starts at a school where the learning environment helps them and leads them into brighter opportunities and doesn't harm them and interrupt their learning. So think about that. Think about our children who will be our future leaders and caretakers. I just wanted to say that this documentary will be posted next Tuesday, and I hope to post it on local news sources. And with Mr. Rodriguez's help, I will post it on the Donaldview ISD social media pages. I just want the communities to be aware about the conditions that many of our schools face, and thank you.
Next participant is Charlotte Scott in regards to the bond.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Scott. I am an 8th grade student at CMS. I think the bond needs to be passed. Our middle school looks nice, but it is very old. Mr. Judge does what he can to keep it nice for us, but there is only so much he can do. Some of my favorite activities from CMS are the choir, UIL, student council, NJHS, and book club. In the book club, Mr. Brito, our librarian, lets us pick the books, discuss it, and share our feelings about it. If it wasn't for him and our book club, I wouldn't have been exposed to manga or know that I really enjoy reading it. It makes me very upset to think that he might not be there because the school board would possibly cut his position. I know that I am leaving middle school this year, but my brother will be coming soon and he deserves a nice school with an awesome librarian. I visited the high school and heard what will happen if the bond is not passed. I was very heartbroken to know that Ms. Martinez might not be there next year, and I was very sad. Our schools need new upgrades. I like my classmates and the programs I have to look forward to at the high school. However, I think that if the bond does not pass, we will lose both students and programs, which is sad and makes me worry about my future. I wish I was old enough to vote because we need this bond to pass. The most I can do is learn and ask questions about what might happen in the future. I am proud to be an Eagle, and I want this bond to help us soar to a new heights like Eagles are meant to. Thank you.
Next participant is Jackson Harrison in regards to the bond.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Galavis. My name is Jackson Harrison. I'm a 5th grader at JDE and the Stuco president. I am here tonight to speak in support of the bond. I've been at JDE since pre-K. JDE needs updates and repairs. All of our schools do. I'm excited to go to AMS next year, but I know it needs updates too. Our schools deserve to be updated. Our schools need to be more modern so that other kids want to come to Panfield too. This bond will help make sure all students and teachers have what they need to continue learning and growing. The adults need to stop arguing about who is right or wrong and just do what is right for us, the students who come here every day to learn. Thank you.
Next participant is Allison and Caleb Vasquez in regards to the CISD bond.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, my name is Allison Vasquez. I am a fifth grader at Jose Damian Elementary. I am here today to encourage you to go out and vote. Before you decide to vote for the bond or against the bond, I want you to know a couple of things. We, the children of CISD, have natural curiosity and desire to know many things. This curiosity fuels our journey of learning. We want to know how the sun comes up. We want to know why the clouds go by. We want to know why the stars don't fall down. We want to know how a flower blooms. We want to know how a bird can fly. We want to know why the moon is round. Do you truly believe that children are the future? Do you believe in hope? Before you decide to vote for the bond or against the bond, think of me and all of the CISD students. Think of our hunger to learn, teach us well, and one day we would lead the way. As in six words, we are your only hope for the future, and you are our only hope for our presence. Thank you for listening.
Next participant is Alisa Montes in regards to the CISD bond.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board members, and Dr. Galavis. My name is Alisa Montes, and I'm a 5th grader at Jose Damian Elementary. I am here to share my worry about the future that lies ahead. We have a bond that needs to be voted on. I hope you all vote yes. Why? Well, our future depends on your vote. Do you believe in your community? Do you want what is best for Penfield? Then yes is the answer. The adults should vote for it. My classmates and I wish we could vote. We wish we could vote to better our school and our city. But we can't. We depend on you to speak for us. Please help lessen our worries by doing what's right and voting yes. Thank you for your time.
Next participant is Devani Tamayo in regards to the bond.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board members, and Dr. Galavis. My name is Devani Tamayo, and I am Student Council Secretary at Jose Damian Elementary. I am here today because it is the adults in this room that can vote yes to position A and B on the Canopio ISD 2024 bond proposal. The passing of this bond would allow students in the Canopio district to be in a better learning environment. The campuses would get the necessary repairs needed, more safety and security upgrades. The passing of the bond will allow our schools to get new roofs and HVAC systems. This will allow us to learn more comfortably in our environment. The safety and security upgrade will also allow to feel safer in our schools. Being able to invest in career and technology resources would be better to prepare us for future careers. Thank you for being here, because that shows that the students of Canopio ISD are important to each and every one of you. But it is by going out there and voting yes to a bond that will allow us to have better possibilities in our school. Say yes for us. Thank you.
Next participant is Sebastian Breda regarding the Canopio ISD bond.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board members, and Dr. Calavis. My name is Sebastian Reda, and I am Student Council Historian at Jose Damian Elementary. I am here to urge the voters in Canopio ISD to answer the call to vote yes to Proposition A and B on the Canopio ISD 2024 bond proposal. As a Canopio ISD student, I can recognize the importance of our schools receiving the repairs necessary so that we can all have the best setting to learn in. It worries me that if the bond does not pass, our schools will only continue to deteriorate further. I think that we can also agree that safety and security are one of the most important in our schools. The passing of the bond would allow us to feel safer in our schools. I'm only in the 5th grade, but I wonder what it'll be like when I get to high school. If I choose to go to Northwest Early College High School, I would like for my classmates and I to be able to walk in the hallways of a safe and secure campus instead of having to walk to and from portables. If I go to Canopio High School, will I be able to attend a campus that has been updated to help us prepare for our future jobs? We are depending on the adults in our community to vote yes for us. Everyone wants the best future for their children. This bond is the future of Canopio ISD. Vote yes for us.
Next participant is Mason Anchieta in regards to the bond.
Hello, my name is Mason, and I am a 4th grader at Jose Damian Elementary. I am proud to be a Firebird. I wanted to share a little bit about myself. I live in the far northeast side of El Paso. Each day I leave my house at 6:30 in the morning just to arrive at the best school ever, JDE. I am currently on a transfer to be part of Canopio Independent School District because I believe that this is the best district. Even though the drive is long, I am proud of my school. I am part of JDE Student Council, Journalism, and ACE program. Some things that I love about my school are DBIS activities, Purple Star Military Award, to see my friends, and to have the best teachers. Since my family lives in the Northeast, we are technically part of Isleta Independent School District. We can't vote for the bond. But trust me, if my family could vote, we would. This bond means that we would have a brand new middle school built close to Jose Damian. This bond would allow us proud Canopio students to have the very best education. I am a leader and proud student. I encourage all voters to vote for us and to have better schools. After all, kids like me are the future, and we deserve it. Thank you.
Next participant is Sylvester Reyes in regards to a historical perspective, getting an education at Canopilla.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Galaviz, and special shout out to my cousin Patsy. Thank you for the work that you do for this community, and thank you for listening to the great talent that comes out of this district. I happen to be old enough to have graduated from the second graduating class of Canopilla Independent School District. That was back in 1964, back in the last century. But it makes me proud to listen to the voices of the young people, because our first fight back then, that sign says established 1959. What it doesn't say is how hard we worked to get the votes. And my cousin Patsy can tell you, Mando, although he's much younger, I think he knows how tough it was to get the yes vote back then to support establishing our own district. And we've come a long way. We've done a lot of great things. I graduated in 1964. The Vietnam War was starting to heat up at that time. All of us that graduated in 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, up to the mid-70s, as we graduated, we were drafted into the military. We all went and fought for this country for the very reason that we're here tonight, as part of the greatest experiment in the history of this country, a democracy that demands that we stand up for each other, a democracy that demands that we do the kinds of things that are hard. As President Kennedy once said, we do things because it's the right thing to do. We do things because they need to be taken into account for the next generation. These are my great grandkids, Shiloh and Zanaya. And Zanaya will speak on her own. But I will tell you this: we strongly support the bond because we know how critical, how important it is to the future of these kids. And part of this process also recognizes the fact that in order to tell you who we are, in order to move forward with our values, we have to look at where we came from. In 1918, my great aunt was born and was the first Reyes to attend Canopilla schools in 1924. Since then, over 100 years ago, we've had Reyeses into Canopilla School District. At one point, we had people being bused to El Paso High because all Canopilla offered was an elementary education. My mom was one of those. There are thousands of people today that are part of not just our community, but throughout the country, throughout the world, that were bused to El Paso High. We don't want to take a step backwards. Whatever it takes, we must do. Whatever it takes to preserve what we're doing, we must remember why we're doing it. And we're doing it for the young people. I am so proud of the young kids that have come up here and have spoken so eloquently that is so important. So I thank you all and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you. Great granddaughter to sit there.
Oh, sure.
So at least we can see her.
We've practiced this a lot.
Good evening, my name is Anaya Reyes and this is my little brother Shiloh. I am 8 years old and Shiloh is 3 years old. We will be attending Gunnview Elementary School this fall. We are here today to thank you for supporting our future school with the Gunnview bond election effort. We know our future and our learning depends on this community. Deciding to invest in my school, building and in computers. We are also proud that our family, the Reyes family, have attended Gunnview School for 100 years. Today, Shiloh and I are here to keep that tradition going. I will be the class of 2034 and my brother will graduate the class of 2039. We have many years to go and need our community to support our schools. Thank you. Please vote for the bond. Please vote for the students like me and my brother who are future Gunnview graduates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next participant is Orlando Garcia. In regards to saying yes to students, say yes to the bond.
Hi, I'm a sophomore at Gunnview High School, class of 2026. And first, I'm just trying to thank you all for being here and taking the time to be here. So the reason that I'm here today is to talk about the bond and to help save not just my future, but the future of the kids that are just starting out like them, all of them back there, but they still have a lot of school years like ahead of them. The bond will fix our schools, get us new technology, buy us new computers and a bunch of new stuff, and then also to help improve the security to make us just a lot safer. Bond can help us in so many different ways. With all that being said, I can only hope that you all will say yes to the 2024 Gunnview bond. Thank you all so much.
Next participant is Julian Garcia. In regards to graduating from Canutillo, thank yous and saying yes to the bond.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Galavis. My name is Julian Garcia. I am currently a senior at Gunnview High School, and I will be graduating in 5 weeks. I am here tonight to say thank you to you, to all my teachers and principals, and to my community. I attended Jose Damian Elementary, Gunnview Middle School, and now Gunnview High School. When I first started middle school, I remember the many opportunities I had with new electives I could take. Electives such as theater, football, track, robotics, and gaming. In PE, I could always play in the big gym and I learned a bunch of new sports. I started my freshman year at Gunnview High School during the COVID pandemic. Starting my first year in college school during this time was tough. Then I met a lot of friends who really impacted my high school life. There were many opportunities in high school as well. I was able to take dual credit classes, was introduced to lifting, and experienced the fun social events like homecoming, pep rallies, and prom. I am very thankful to have such an incredible experience growing up in this district. Gunnview ISD is all I've ever known, and I'm proud to announce that I'll be attending the University of Texas at San Antonio. As I wrap up my education journey at Gunnview ISD, I hope and pray that the students that come behind me will have the same opportunities that I have: safe schools, well-maintained buildings, current technology, and new electives. This can happen if our community continues to support our children, support our teachers, and support our schools. I will have the privilege to vote for the very first time in my life and will express my voice by voting for the Gunfield Bond 2024. It's the right thing to do for my schools, my teachers, and my district. Thank you for giving me the education and experience that I need to continue to reach my goals. Now it's time to pass this bond and give others the same opportunity. Thank you.
Mr. President, that concludes the open forum for tonight.
So many future leaders hopefully take our spot. It's important for not only hearing the students, but the passion that they have and wanting a better future, and who cannot want to support that. Thank you all. That will take us to
Item number 4, Board of Trustees business, budget presentation by Ms. Martha Patarski and Christy Poole.
Good evening, President Rodriguez, members of the board, Dr. Galaviz. We're here with the budget presentation for 2025.
Good evening, Board President, Superintendent Galaviz, and members of the board. We're here for you again to talk about our financial situation and to talk about the plans that are suggested to you members of the board. Just a recap of what we've done over the past few months is just try to instruct anybody that is listening for the first time as to why we are in the situation that we are, right? And it has a lot of issues, as you know. It is not an issue of mismanagement, it is not an issue of expenditures that are done incorrectly. It is really an issue of the economy as a whole. So in our presentation, you're able to see really what is impacting this budget, and you're able to see that it has to do with student loss. Some of you may have even seen that student loss being highlighted by other school districts as they talked about the amount of students we lose, and they posted our brand new number of transfers on their website as well. You've also seen the rising insurance costs, just the economy as a whole, and we talked about also political agendas within the state, right, and how that has also impacted school funding as a whole, and just the formulas that we have. In the 2021 legislature, we were able to shelter the change, or there was no change within that formula because of ESSER. We were able to do that. One of the issues that we're also going to start having to take decisions on is the deferred maintenance, since we have on there as well. When it comes to our enrollment, it is no secret that our enrollment continues to decline, and the reason for that decline is really up to interpretation. We have anecdotal evidence, we have surveys that we've been able to do as students are leaving our district, but the majority of the students that are accounted for in the loss of enrollment are students that never set foot in our schools, so we do not have access to demographic information to ask them why we are in the situation that we are in the first place. So that was accounting for a total revenue loss of $27 million by year 28-29, and that is a high impact on the school budget that you approve every year. When you couple the economy, you were able to see in the previous meetings when we were talking about just the rise in diesel fuel costs. This year you are going to be asked to approve a budget that includes a rise in diesel cost of $150,000. Not only that, the utilities have gone up, the cost to fix things have gone up, just like with everything else, right? So when it comes to the legislature, I know we've talked about this several times. It has to do with that $13 billion surplus. A lot of things that were left unvoted for because of whatever the ideologies were are included in this slide. So these are not surprises to you. You've seen this before. When it comes to ESSER, we've talked about ESSER. We've talked about the fact that the funding from ESSER expired, and we no longer have that to shelter our budgetary needs. Now, this next slide is really the one that I want to particularly focus on with y'all. And this is our deferred maintenance priority listing. So we've had great anecdotes from different children in our district that as you all pointed out, they may someday be sitting up there telling us about the budget themselves, right? But the reality is, if things remain unchanged, we've talked about the budget for plant maintenance going up in the past 2 years to double its size. It's very possible that we are going to end this fiscal year at about an $8 million budget for our plant maintenance for 53, which is just patching and doing minor fixes in order for kids to be able to continue in school. Please consider the following, that if there is no change in our financial situation, we will be asking to start correcting these issues one by one on the priorities that we have. So the next fiscal year, if things remain unchanged, Canutillo Elementary School still needs a new roof. That is still, last year, $1.5 million. Northwest, if it remains unchanged, we'll still need to replace the units there. Some of you have had children go through there, and you understand the reality of that situation. You've heard some of our college high school students today talk about what goes on inside those portables, so we will still need, as of last year, $5.2 million to correct those issues. So all in all, you will need to make that investment to add to the deficit. You can take that 9.9 number and add these 5.2 and 1.5, because these are just the realities, right? So that's the only place where we can find money to correct these issues. And then you can see on the slide, this is not something new. You've seen this before. You're not the only district in this situation. It's not the one black eye in the state of Texas that just hasn't been able to manage with what we have. It is just the reality, right? So until things change, this is what we will be facing.
So before we go to what I would like to see on the Texas legislator, the inaction, there was inaction of the legislator, but there was also the $100,000 tax homestead exemption that had consequences. Do we know that amount, right, for this past fiscal year?
Well, we are to be made whole by the state. So in other words, even though we may have a reduction in property taxes, it is to be replenished by the state. So we have a balancing formula.
For this year?
Correct.
And then next fiscal year?
It will be the same.
It will be the same?
It will be balanced.
Okay. That there's not a negative consequence to
No,
the 100,000?
currently the template is generating a deficit of about $1 million. However, we don't have accurate projections for our property values. So the property values that will be used to do final settle up for this school year actually will not be available until January of next year, which is well after the school year has ended.
So is that $1 million consequence, and is that?
I don't believe it will be because we have a hold harmless where the state will make up any revenue loss from property taxes. Will be made up at the state level.
Also, as we've discussed in other meetings, the template changes, and sometimes it changes once or twice a month. So it's continually being updated throughout the year.
Okay, and with that, the other question I had in regards to that, I know we're looking at national data, but is there a way where we could create that for our local? I know the first year the state supplanted the money, but the second year it came and we spent, and just how much did we get from the ESSER, and then where's that cut off? Because I think it's important to visualize that on that slide, if we could get that next. Yeah. And that's all I had from that part. I'll let you go, unless there's any other questions. We go to the next part.
Well, I had it, but in the previous page, I don't know, I had to wait until the end of the presentation, or can I?
Oh, if it hasn't been talked about, we'll wait till they.
Well, no, it is in the ESSER clip.
What's the question?
The question is, I have a question for you. How much we receive per student in ESSER funds?
That's what I just heard.
And if we do still have any funds for that?
So ESSER is ready to end in September. For the most part, the funds have been utilized. They will be depleted by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay, but I just wanted to know, for example, this one says 1, 2, or 3, or 4. How much was allocated per student in ESSER funds?
I would need to do the calculation.
We don't know how much we receive per student?
No, it's not offhand, but I can try that for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
The total amount was around 19 million, between 1, 2, and 3.
19 million, so we need to divide it between the students that we had and will remain right now. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, so that's a great segue into the fiscal year 2025 unknown. As Ms. Pulley was just referring to, this is the information that we need in order to provide you with a budget for next year. However, most of this information will not be solid, hard numbers until after that school year has completed.
On the not attendance rates, enrollment. I know that we have enrollment going on right now within the district. Looking at the number of enrollments or registrations that we've done, I guess this year compared to last year, does it look like we're on par for our enrollment to stay the same?
So currently, yes. However, there's that goes on there, right? So currently, the enrollment is above what we saw at snapshot. So we're at 5,927. Currently, we have about 15% of our students as a whole has registered for next year, which I like just to bring everybody abreast of that. That's the normal, right? People register in the summer, try to incentivize it, free dress, whatever it is, for kids to register. Just the hard reality is waiting until it has to be. However, there are some numbers that we traditionally lose in transitions, right? Whether it's from middle school to high school or elementary to middle school. We do anticipate that it will have that same effect that we've had, simply because one of our largest classes is our departing seniors. So our departing seniors are the third highest class, and our incoming kindergartners, just to illustrate it for this year, we lost 463, or we will lose 463 seniors, but at that rate of replacement, we would only replace them with 356 kindergartners. So that's why we continue to lose enrollment, because the amount of students we lose at the senior grade level do not get replenished between pre-K and kindergarten.
Now, kinder is not required by the state, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
To continue on,
excuse me, just 1 second. Kindergarten is not required by the state if they weren't previously enrolled, but if they were previously enrolled in pre-K, it is required.
some additional unknowns. So we know we don't know what tax collections will be. We can estimate a rate. Tax values will not be known until after the school year ends. The tax compression rate will be compressed by TA. We will not receive this information until August of once we actually after we adopt our budget. The state funding formula is still an ongoing template to project for projections. We don't know what our enrollment will be, attendance rates, the healthcare funding, whether additional funds will need to be provided. Also, we have the issue of the central office relocation. We don't know the final outcome of what will happen with central office, and of course the results of the composition of the bond composition A and B, what those results will be. Some of the things that we do currently know is that we do have a deficit budget. We're facing what we call an alligator budget, in which personnel has grown at a higher rate than our enrollment in our students. We have recurring expenditures, which are our salaries. We do know that this budget is not sustainable. This could have significant implications and an effect on our first rating, which is our financial rating, which can also affect accreditation for the district. We continue to have enrollment declines, attendance rates, deferred maintenance needs. We know that there is a tremendous need for maintenance of our buildings. We also are facing a possible downgrade for our bond credit rating if our financial situation does not improve. And of course, the rising cost of inflation between the cost of living. There's so many different factors that are affecting inflation.
Mr. Chef?
I have a question in that slide, please. The bonds are rated by three, could be AAA, D, or AAD. Which is the rating of this bond?
Currently, the district is what's rated. So are you asking what our bonds would be rated?
It's about the risk that we have in this bond.
Well, once the bond, election occurs, we'll be, contacted by the rating agencies, they'll ask us some questions, and then it will be determined.
It's sort of when you go out for a loan, you'll get your credit rating, and then when we sell those bonds, that's where they'll assign it. Depending if we were to get a downgrade, then there would be consequences on the amount that we would have to pay on interest, and even though that it's also backed up by the permanent school, so there's some negative consequences.
So we don't know yet, right? About the risk of this bond already, we don't know.
Well, the rating agencies will now analyze our income statement, well, not income statements, but pretty much our audits and our financials over the years, and look at any negative impact or management.
That's not really good. So
am I correct in that?
Yes, they ask questions, management turnover, they ask questions about the district, do we know, are there any lawsuits? There's a whole list of questions that they go through, and will ask us.
But it will be great if we know, but then when we have the results, we can touch base with us and let us know the rate.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
There will be a presentation on all of that.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question on that. So I assume when the bond information was presented, they had estimated a 5% interest. That's based off of our current rating, correct?
That is a very complicated calculation. I'm going to say that that's a Rudy question.
Okay.
There are many factors that he takes into.
So it's not solely based on that?
No, he also has to imagine when we're going to be selling those, because of course we don't get all the money on day one.
Correct.
It's going to be sold over time. So there's going to be inflation, there's going to be interest rate changes, there's going to be the economy, there's going to be competition from other bonds, there's a lot to consider.
When it goes on the market and how the market works.
Agency issues.
And he did say that night that nothing was in stone, that was just estimated. But if our bond rating was downgraded, that would affect that number in that calculation, correct?
Definitely.
Okay.
Cabinet provides budget priorities every year. Part of these priorities is, of course, the required maintenance tax note payment that needs to be incorporated into the budget. No compensation package will be presented this year. We do have our Apple refresh, which is the replacement schedule that we have for our one-to-one devices for our students. We put that into a reserve and use it as needed. We also have the priority, which is I think everyone's priority now, is to have a balanced budget, to make sure that our revenues are equaling our expenditures. We have a possible $1 million infusion that may need to be entered for the healthcare fund. We also have the maintenance requests that we have. So we have the two priorities, and those priorities total $6 million for roofing and HVAC. We also have a bus replacement, which is we did not replace one of the buses last year, so that is one of the priorities for this upcoming school year. We also want to minimize any unintended consequences, and that will mean increasing. Currently, we've projected to increase the athletics and the School of Music budget back to what it was in FY23. And just to note that land sales are not being considered as part of the budget, and the central office move has not been budgeted either. So as we begin planning for this shortage, the decision was made to not, or at least proposed, to not have any raises for this biennium. We've also are looking at possible programming cuts, additional reductions in force. The lack of bond funds will result in addressing facility needs versus the additional personnel or compensation. The maintenance tax notes will continue to be paid out of maintenance and operations, and of course our possible cash flow shortage. The cash flow is of great concern. If we adopt a deficit budget, we will not have sufficient funds to cover just basic needs of the district.
And I'd like just to add on that note that I did discuss that with our financial advisor, and it won't be as easy as going down to your bank and getting a loan like you would for your household. One of the things that they will require of us is to not to pass a balanced budget, but a surplus budget, which we would be showing them that we do have the funds in order to pay back that loan. So that would be something just to keep in mind.
And we don't have enough funds in the M&O? What is the actual budget in the M&O?
Well, that's what we're getting ready to present.
Okay. I have a question.
Sure.
When you talk about the additional reduction in force, the RIF, Dr. Galavis and staff, if the bond were to pass, what does that look like?
So,
Vice President Martinez, that's a question we consistently hear from the community, so we've started to do some projections in regards to the costs that would not have to be sheltered by M&O. For example, we talked about my increased budget, right, an increase in the past 2 years for plant maintenance, about $4 million. This is all just emergency fixes, so you can factor in the fact that if there is monies available from bond proceeds, those $4 million wouldn't have to come out. When it comes to the $1.2 million that we spend paying the tax maintenance notes, so those wouldn't come out there. Just those two items would be 5.2. When it comes to the reduction in force, if you remember some of those menu items, the one that comes off from the top is the Davenport, right? So that was 1.4 million. So the board would be able to have at their disposal at M&O the addition of those funds that would not have to be budgeted for a budget like mine to maintain schools. So I don't know if that kind of answers the question.
It does. So really, we can't make a decision now. The decision would come to us later whether we continue with the RIF. Is that correct?
So I think that the basis for that would be that you would have now at your disposal understanding that, hey, budget 53 is not going to need Ms. Pulley and Ms. Bajkarski to put $8 million as those proceeds. We're going to do $3 million, and then that budget itself would then balance out to be able to fund some of the reduction in force items that you saw.
And tonight there is no action.
I know there's no action, but I've had a lot of questions on that from the community, and so I want to ask this so we're transparent, because that's very important. So right now, so I understand this correctly, we could, even though we're going, I'm going to use the example of the high school, we're going to a traditional schedule, so of course you lose teachers in that, but we would possibly be able to absorb those teachers somewhere else?
I think that's an HR question, but from our preliminary projections, a lot of the incentivizing of retirements and resignations was able to provide opportunities for our employees to go in there, and also with the freeze, which Ms. Casco will go in there, a lot of those positions that we anticipate would be vacated by that reduction in force have been taken by those people.
So I just want to be sure that our priority is to save as many teachers, if not all of our teachers, if we're successful, in other words.
So that was my conversation with y'all last week, is when we've moved everything in the system already to a traditional schedule, are we going to put it back to block? I mean, we've already identified some excess.
No, we're not. I just want to know if we're going to do an effort that those excess teachers to try to place them in middle school, because they're certified in middle school for the most part.
That's correct, and we've done that already.
Okay.
We've anticipated with some of the vacancies. Remember, we offered the $500 incentive. I had 27 people, of course, not all teachers, but most of them, yes. So we've been able to fill them with those for next year.
anticipated, but I do have possibly like about 10 that I can think of off the top of my head that I would not have a place for. And so, again, we were needing that reduction in force to be called to be able to do that. If not, we're gonna have to find something else, whether they become substitute teachers or, you know, what we're gonna work with them on. But of course, you're still gonna pay their full salary, even if we put them in as subs.
Okay, and so my question to that is, back to what you said, is that if we go with the plan that you talked about, there's a possibility for librarians and nurses, all the ones that have immediate impact on students.
Correct, yeah, the situation doesn't change if there's not an influx of funds. Not only would this board have to fund our $8 million budget for patching, but an additional $6 million to replace that roof and HVAC. When we saw those schools, it would be impossible to not select most, if not all, of those items, if there is no different source of funds. And I know this has been a question by a lot of our teachers, that there's uneasy feeling of not having a contract. There is the misinformation out there as well, as bonds don't pay for teacher salaries, which is true. I know we've explained this to our staff as well, that it has nothing to do with bond proceeds to pay for their salaries. The fact of the matter is that
frees up money.
Correct, yes.
So I just want to make sure that the community is aware that there might be a lot less, but there might be some teachers that we can't place. That's all I need to know.
Yes, that is correct.
All right.
And in regards of the information that you sent us, you said that we might lose 20 teachers approximately.
Yes, that is on that, but those 20, the savings that were identified from those 20 teaching positions, some of those teachers have been placed in vacant positions for next year. So we have the savings of the position that we closed, but that individual is going to another campus.
And this is to reduce the impact that we have the deficit here. But my question is, why don't we work in salaries? Have you ever thought about that, salaries?
I'm not understanding your question.
Yeah, we have a deficit here.
Yes.
That we already need to address.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are suffering the impact are the students, the teachers, the ones who they go directly with our students. My question is, have you ever thought about review all of you guys' salaries and working that in order to put it in the savings as well? Help it to relieve this fund?
You mean administration?
Even administration, definitely. We're going to start by administration.
The option also that was considered, I know that we didn't put, was to furlough days. The only way to reduce salaries would be to furlough days, cut days from the work calendar that everybody has.
The only thing is, I see that we have a problem that we need to fix one way or another. The only thing that really breaks my heart is that teachers or the ones that have directly impact to the students are suffering. Our students as well, or we close campuses or not. But we need to start by house. We need to start by ourselves here. We need to overview, the salaries of each one. As a matter of fact, if there's any possibility that you send us the information, what is the salary of each one of you guys? So maybe we can work and maybe you can see that, contemplate that.
Could you define all of you guys, which
all the staff here, yes, staff here.
At central office?
Central office.
Okay.
Yes.
Please, I can provide that.
And it will be nice if you already consider in your alleviate this problem that we have with this deficit as well. Consider some of your payroll. You know what? We earn this. Maybe we could work in this one. If we could alleviate with this much, will be great as well. Okay. Thank you.
I do have a question in regards to the RIF, the reduction in force, the 1 through 10 that you provided. I believe it has to do with chapter 21 if we do have to do a RIF. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I would like, if it's a reduction in force and it does have nothing to do with chapter 21, then it shouldn't be on this sheet.
Basically, on that sheet, what I'm trying to show to you is the savings.
No,
is the savings overall that we can provide.
There's no reduction in force. I just think that that's something that needs to be looked at, and you all could provide that. We're gonna have to have the serious conversations, but looking at this, if we don't go into detail, I think that's what a RIF is on the chapter 21, and that's been my concern. So, is there any other questions? Then I'll take us to the next item. No, I mean the next slide, sorry.
So as we begin building the budget, we start with revenues. Our first item to do, our largest funding sources is what is generated through the state as well as property taxes. The driving force for state funding is our enrollment, is our students as well as their attendance rates. And for local funding is our property taxes, what are our property values as well as the rates. This funding formula, however, is a balancing formula. The state determines how much money the district can generate based on their funding formula. So if property taxes increase, state funding will decrease, or vice versa. On the next slide, we have our current property tax value trends. We have increased our values for the district, have been increasing steadily. They do increase at a higher rate than the state average. Our projections are based on an 8% increase for this upcoming school year. We are basing this on the certified values that were given to us in July of 23. We will be receiving preliminary values, I believe it's sometime this week. So hopefully we'll be able to give you some more updated projections at the next budget workshop. The tax rate that is used to generate maintenance and operations is a compression rate. It is compressed by the state. We will receive the compression rate by TA in August. This will be after we've adopted our budget. However, we are anticipating, based on an 8% growth, that our rate will decrease by about half of 1 penny. So we do anticipate to have at least a decrease in our tax rate in the upcoming school year for M&O. Based on that information, we have calculated our projected property taxes that we'll be collecting. We do anticipate for property taxes to increase by about $2.8 million in the upcoming school year based on an 8% increase of the certified tax levy that was certified in July and at a 98.5% collection rate. The other driving force of our funding is our students. The next slide, it presents to you our average attendance rates and our enrollment. As you can see, our enrollment has decreased as well as our ADA. For the upcoming school year, we are anticipating a loss of students, and we are projecting students to be 5,778, which is about a loss of 85 students. We have a breakdown by campus, and how these enrollment projections are done is that we take the numbers in snapshot, which are usually lower than what we end the year with. And so those numbers are rolled over for third grade level, and we just keep our pre-K and our kinder numbers constant. The projections that we're going to give you are based on a 94% attendance rate. We do have a projection available at 95%. Currently, there's been great effort by our schools to increase attendance. The value and the importance of attendance rates has been emphasized to our students, to our parents, and we have seen significant growth in our attendance rates. Currently, we are at 95.41%. This was as of March 1st of 2024. So I believe that this is maybe an opportunity to increase our revenue. This would increase our revenue by $873,000. We also have proposed campus allocations. We do still show an increase in it at the campus level of about $379,000. This is just rolling our current staff over and any additions that have been made during the school year and have been rolled over for the upcoming school year. Mr. Sure.
We noticed that Children's Elementary was increased as well, right? It has more increase than the other ones. And Canutillo High School and Norris Early College and Canutillo Middle School, they lost funding as well. It's Alderete. So what is the reason that?
So sometimes when we adopt the budget, we may be adopting a vacant position that is budgeted at a higher rate. So when it's finally filled, it may be at a lower rate. So this is just based on the information that's available at the time. So those small increases and decreases could be allocated to that for that reason. If you see a larger increase, for the most part, it was that possibly there was personnel moved around between different campuses, or additional positions were added, whether they be special ed or possibly some aides. So different things could affect the different personnel at the different campuses.
Thank you.
The next slide presents to you the different categories of fund balance. And this is just to demonstrate the different allocations of when we end the school year and the different categories for them. We have 5 different categories that fund balance could be broken down into. The first one being the non-spendable fund balance. This is a reserve that is allowed for inventory. So if we have inventories such as warehouse inventories, transportation inventories, nutrition, end of year, we need to have that as a reserve in the non-spendable fund balance. We also have restricted fund balance, and this is usually, in our situation in particular, is used for the fund balance that belongs to the child nutrition program. Because both the child nutrition and the general fund are reported together, we often we will show a restricted fund balance for that which belongs to the child nutrition program. We also have committed fund balance, and this is done at the discretion of the board. So if there are special projects that the board wishes to reserve funds for, it would be done through a resolution, and the board would make the decision to commit fund balance for a particular project, possibly construction or something of significance.
By the end of the fiscal year.
Correct. The other item is assigned fund balance. So this is left if we have a special need, such as the technology refresh project. We know that we're going to need to fund that in future years. However, the revenue will not be available in those future years unless we make a reserve. So it's kind of like a savings account for special projects, such as the technology refresh project. But this also holds monies for maybe uncompleted projects. Perhaps we received funding for a project in the current school year. We had the revenue, it was budgeted for, but did not get completed until the next school year. So we'll put this into assigned fund balance, and once the budget is adopted, and usually you'll receive a budget amendment to add these additional budget into the current year's budget so that we can finish those particular projects. These are not deficits to the budget, they're just simply a rolling over of uncompleted items from one year to the next. The other one, which is the one that we really focus on, is unassigned fund balance. And this is basically available for any purpose. And this is the one that we need to be available for us to be able to get us not only just cash flow to sustain us, but just as a reserve for the needs of the district.
The unassigned balance, so we need to have certain years to maintain that, a certain amount?
Yes. So it is recommended for it to be fiscally sound, to have at least 90 days. We do require by policy, our own district policy, to have at minimum 60 days.
I do have a question on this slide. My concern, or not necessarily a concern, depending on where we put any extra revenue, let's say with the sale of the land, and if we commit it, assign it, or unassign, whatever, does that increase if we put it in any one of those, or does it have to be one specific?
So if the board decided to commit it, it would not, it would not be available for the district to use it
So would it
unless.
help within our policy and the days of fund balance?
No, so the 90 days is for unassigned.
So it has to be on the unassigned.
Correct. On the next slide is our projections. We are estimating for us to adopt or to finish the year at about $6.3 billion deficit. We began our fund balance with almost $17 million. This is between all our different categories of fund balance. However, we are reserving $1 million for the healthcare fund, as well as $1.3 million for the technology refresh. That means, so we currently have, I believe it's 600,000, and we will add 750 to the technology refresh. So after incorporating the projected loss of 6.3 and these additional assignments of fund balance, we project our unassigned fund balance to be about $8 million. This would be only 42 days of reserve for the district to use. And as I mentioned before, optimum is 90 days, but required by policy is at least 60 days. For the upcoming school year, fiscal year 25, based on the information that we have currently available, revenues have been projected to decrease to about $61.6 million, $61 million. And then also, however, our expenditures are estimated to increase to $71 million, leaving us with a deficit of about $9.5 million. This will bring us to our total fund balance of $1 million with our reserves of assigned fund balance. This will leave us at a negative fund balance and a negative 6 days, which of course would not be sustainable. So with the options that are available that have been presented in the prior workshop, it is dire that some decisions are made as far as how we will address the deficit. The next slide just is a graph of how our fund balance has been impacted. As you know, as you can see that it was at a positive number, and now it is showing a decline into the negatives of fund balance.
If I may, Mr. Chair. So on the previous slide where it's comparing this year to next year, sorry, Adrian. Thank you. So I'm seeing that the expenditures and other uses are going from 69.5 million to 71.2 basically. Can you let us know why that increase is? What specifically is in there where expenditures would be higher?
Correct. So what we did is we just rolled over current expenditures, and as were presented in the previous workshop, there were additional items that after we went through needs assessments that were required, such as fuel increase for transportation, rising cost in insurance. There was just additional items that were identified as being needed to be funded.
Perfect. So that list that basically you guys gave last year, feels like last week, would have accounted for that.
Correct. It provides the breakdown of why there's an increase.
And this is not including the deferred maintenance that Dr. Rico was referring to.
It does not include the $6 million.
Thank you.
So with that said, we're just presenting again the options that are available to bring this deficit down. This was presented at the last budget workshop, which you all took a look and asked for additional information that was to be provided. And we're just presenting it to you again so that you can take a look at it. The risks, as have been discussed in previous workshops, and some items that are maybe considered discretionary and could be removed from the budget. And so this plan will address most of the budget deficit. However, it will still leave about $1.4 million to be accounted for.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question with this slide. Okay, I was making the numbers
in option 1, in option 9, in other words, to combine both schools, elementary and middle schools, it's a savings of $3,276,37. My question is it really worth it to close these campuses? We will see, the numbers will talk. And what about the performance in each campuses, in the campuses? Do we have the data? Do we know if we could have the data? I wanted to know how our students are performing in those campuses. What's going to be the impact when we move the students from one campus to another? You know, and also we're talking about middle schools, to combine 2 middle schools, 2 campuses. Which one will be where?
So, thank you for your question, Ms. Brown, but I think a lot of those are very preliminary in the way we are operating right now. We don't know, so I think part of the decision on the last part of the question on the middle schools, we need to look at capacity. One has more capacity than the other, but we also need to look at maintenance costs, right? It might be that one of them is more of a money pit when it comes to roofs and HVAC units, so all of that really has to be considered. Also, when it comes to the performance of the schools, I think you received that on the previous board meeting where Ms. Harrison came and talked about the performance of each one of those individual schools. I think if your question is, what will the performance be like, and will it be effective or children like?
I wanted to know how they are performing, the students. I wanted to know that. I would like to see if we could have the data of every campus that we are thinking about to combine. I just wanted to know how our students are doing. I just wanted to know the impact of the students, which is going to be with the new teachers and everything as well. How many students we have for those campuses? I just wanted to know. And Bill Childress and Diana Davenport, how many students we have in DPD and Diana Davenport right now? And how many we have in Bill Childress?
Diana Davenport, we have a total of 322.
322. What about Bill Childress?
Bill Childress, we have a total of 388.
Okay, what is?
Like a copy
Can you
of
go
the
to slide 22?
I just wanted to know, this is because of the transparency. I wanted to know that parents understand this a little bit. What is the deficit?
What I'm saying is there's an available report that's open to the public and community. We could have them send you that, which is a paper report, or you could easily Google it from the Texas Education Agency website.
Yeah, but I just wanted to know here if it's possible.
No, but I'm saying if you want, I mean, we could get you that report.
Will
Is that
be great.
what you're asking for?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, I appreciate that. And also I wanted to know what is the cost per student here.
As far as the cost per student, we can calculate that for you and add that to the slide that we have currently for our students.
So we don't know what is the cost per student?
Not.
Okay, and the last question is, what will be the staff reduction each campus that we're gonna close? Do you have any idea on that? Can we know?
So can I just say real quick before she comes up that slide 22 has the projections of how many students, because you're asking how many students are at each campus?
Yes, okay.
So 22 has the number of students this year from snapshot and also what's projected for next year.
Okay, just that question, what will be the staff reduction in each campus if we decide to go for this route?
When you're combining campuses, you're gonna look at duplicate positions. For example, you're gonna look at, you have 2 principals, so one goes, one stays. You look at the assistant principals, you're looking at office staff. Again, whatever is duplicate will be cut. And as far as teachers, again, it depends on the enrollment numbers that you have combining the 2 campuses. And of course, some of the teachers coming in from the campus that will be affected. More or less, I can say off the top of my head that we're looking at possibly half the teachers will stay, and the other half will need to be the reduction in force.
Chair.
Thank you. Yes, I'm finished. Appreciate that.
Sure. But back to the conversation I had earlier. these decisions have not been made. We may not have to make some of these. Likely, one decision will go if the bond passes, and one decision will go if the bond doesn't pass.
That's correct. So we'll bring forward again that same list that we talked about. Of course, I know, as you've heard, we are dealing with a deficit budget. And so from that menu of options, the board has tasked administration to come up with recommendations to help reduce that deficit. That is what we've presented to you. And as a board, you will decide or make that decision which of those options you want to take.
Okay, so right now we're not, because things can change where we save a lot of money in maintenance and fees, and we might not have to do a lot of this. Oh, and that's what I heard from Mr. Rico. That's fine. We had already talked about it earlier. Quick question. If we do have to combine the schools, will the 6th grade stay at the elementary?
That would be the projection, so that we could fit them into one campus and reduce operating costs. 6th graders would stay at their elementary schools, and then our biggest issue would be at Reyes Elementary School, where we would have to come up with a plan for those students.
Okay, but again, we're not there. So let's just wait and see, and then we'll address this whole risk thing. Okay.
And I just want to underline, in order to add to the proposed plan to address the deficit, don't forget to add, if it's possible, the reduce of salaries. So maybe it will help us to alleviate this debt.
So in regards to, I guess we're on the comments or questions. Is there any? I'll start. Did you have a? Sorry. Sure.
Okay. My question does have to do, it's more so of a suggestion, I guess, for when we are discussing the combining of campuses, because you brought up a really good point, Dr. Rico, especially in regard to the middle school. If we're combining those campuses, we want to make sure not only can we sustain all of those students, but also the deferred maintenance of those campuses, which we don't want to be in a money pit. So if we look at that scenario, will you bring all of that for us to discuss? What are we looking at that has to be fixed right away at those campuses? So that we can look at the whole picture and we're not having unintended consequences due to our decision that we make.
Of course, and we would also look at district boundaries as it comes to elementary schools and middle schools to be able to accommodate that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
That will be Ms. Patsy, and then
Okay, mine's just a quick question. Have we ever thought about bringing 6th grade back to elementary? So it used to be that maybe can help and, have more students at the elementary?
Yeah, so I think, we hadn't thought about it before. We're thinking about it now because it's a cost savings measure. So yes, with the combination of the middle school, 7th and 8th grade would be at one of the 2 middle schools. And then the rest of the 6th graders would stay at the elementary schools that are not closed. I know we've discussed and had internal discussions also about Davenport and BC, and then just the district as a whole as to what we would be able to patch within that deficit budget.
Ms. Patsy.
Regarding our tax rate and the tax collections, what about the delinquent taxes? Do we still have a company that collects that for us?
Yes.
And I haven't seen a report. I mean, back in the old days, we used to get a report of the big companies, the top 10 or something in our school district. And then we used to get a report. It didn't say who it was, but we knew how much money was out there in delinquent tax collections and what they were trying to do to remedy that. Can we see a report regarding
Yes,
that?
we have Linebarger, and they do our collections, and they do send us a report once a year, which goes in the Thursday packet. I can look for the latest one, and we send that.
And if there's no other, my biggest thing is coming back to us when it's the May 7th analyzing which ones are chapter 21 and which ones aren't, and making sure that especially item 8 on the reorganization and restructuring of the central office is looked upon, and hopefully you all are able to be innovative when that comes to us. And I don't want to go into detail, but I think there's a lot of stuff that we need to start doing to hopefully get us there. So with that, I'll
Another question, comments here.
go ahead.
I think we just need to be very careful because I keep hearing this about the bond, we're gonna pass the bond, and we're looking at it as a cure-all. We still have the deficit whether we pass the bond or not, right? Correct. We had talked about closing Davenport, I'm sorry. But even though we pass the bond, that's still a good option because I think we can save money there too, right? You guys are gonna recommend that, right?
So I think, Mr. Cimental, we're operating kind of as we made this analogy earlier, right, of the Super Bowl T-shirt.
Right. But the thing is, like last week, some of our board members were saying, yeah, let's vote on it now and let's close it, let's get rid of it. And today they're saying something different. So I think we just need to step back and remember that we're still gonna have a deficit, and the community wants us to do certain things, close, get rid of a lot of the administration or whatever. We need to keep looking at that. Not just if we pass a bond, forget about it. But I mean, that's what I got from you saying right now. If we pass a bond, maybe we'll still have money to do this and that. We still have a deficit, and we need to make sure that we keep an eye on that and get it done.
And for the record, just for the record, that last week when we wanted to vote, it was not about closing the school. It was about teaching. So, okay. I just want to make sure, like, for me, it was a block scheduling in high school.
And I was getting rid of teachers, and today you're like, no, don't get rid of them.
Well, I know I wanted to be transparent because my point in that conversation is I don't want the community to think that the bond is a fix-all, so that we're not gonna, that's why I asked that question, so it's actually the reverse.
So that's what my comment is.
Misunderstanding.
We can't look at the bond to be a fix-all. We definitely need it. This district needs it, and it's gonna be good for us. But we still need to keep our eye on our finances.
And I tell you, that's why I asked that question for clarification, because the community thinks if the bond passes, this is it. It's not. That's why I wanted them to answer that.
So, any other questions? If not, I'll take us to the next one.
Item number 5, consent agenda voting.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
And
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Get it confused with photo board. There's 2 different boards on me, so I was gonna say all those in favor say aye.
Ms. Barnes.
We could actually do it that way.
Ms. Borrego.
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Cimental.
Yes.
Mrs. Stroud.
Yes.
Ms. Zuniga.
Yes.
All in favor, motion passes.
Mr. President, before we go to our next item, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Peter Edgar Mills, one of our bus drivers who lost his battle with cancer on March 29th. Just silence here to keep in his prayers. I know it's a collection for him and his family back then when he was battling with cancer. Just keep Edgar Mills. Thank you.
Item number 6, executive session. To consult with attorney under sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code. Item 8, discussion regarding possible settlement and resolution of M+E versus Penalty LLC, cause number 2023ECB 1219. Time is 8:13.
Number 2023 GCV 1219 on the terms discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Adrian, can you pull the board?
Ms. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Borrego,
Yes.
Ms. Mendoza,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Simental,
Yes.
Mrs. Strunk,
Yes?
Ms. Zuniga.
Yes.
All in favor, motion passes.
I'll take this to the next item.
Item number 8, meeting adjournment. Time is 8:34.